my goodness, what's happening? Oh, God. Caffeine's starting to kick in. Everything's flowing. Wow. What's happening, everybody? We got Earl here. We got StreamYard here. Oh, wait, that's the streaming service. That's not a person. We got Eston Roy. We got Ebarge from Maryland. We got Miney Cert. What's up, everybody? Nice to see you guys. This week, I put up a video featuring some captures I made for the Neural DSP Quad Cortex as well as Nano Cortex, and the captures are of that red amplifier that's right there that you can see the corner of course. So if you got a Nano or a Quad, check them out. I included the preset as well because I thought, why not? It makes it real easy to audition them. It's the exact sounds I used in the video for the song. And I included cab sims in there so that you could just kind of switch between the scenes and you'll get, the different sounds. And there's a really nice lead sound, I think, that I quite like. That also has a little like overdrive added via an OD block, the Myth drive or Klon style drive that's in the Quad. But yeah, basically a few different settings on the amplifier. There's even a capture in there that I didn't use in the video that is of kind of just a straight up sort of rock plexi AC/DC gain kind of sound. So there's a lot to like there if you're into kind of Marshall and modded Marshall sounds. There's a nice clean sound too. I ran it with the, the volume 1 and 2 real low and the EQ low and stuff. I got a nice sparkly clean, and then I added some compressor to it and a little bit of chorus and a little bit of or dimension and stuff. And that was the clean sound in the video. So anyway, some good stuff in there if you want to check it out. Merry Christmas. And right now I'm working on a video for this thing. I'm a little late on it. Sorry about that, guys at Crazy Tube, but I'll get it out in a couple days. It's the Heat Seeker pedal. Is the video always backwards? Why is the video backwards today? Is that right? Or is it just backwards for me? It's backwards. Why is the video backwards? Does anybody else find that? That's different. I don't know why that is. Let's go to settings and see if there's like a setting for that. Mirror my camera. Mirror my camera. What does that mean? Ah, there we go. Why the hell was that checked? That shouldn't ever be checked. Anyway, kind of silly preferences things. You want to look like you're supposed to look in the world. But anyway, it didn't say Reskesha. It said Heat Seeker. This pedal from Crazy Tube Circuits, Marshall in a box, but features something really neat, which is this little boost side that's meant to capture the sound of this is for sure the first pedal that's ever meant to capture the sound of a wireless. Meant to capture the sound of the Schaefer Vega wireless system that Angus liked to use starting around the Back in Black time in the studio, because it gave his sound a little unique boost and probably a little buffering and whatever this little enhanced circuit does and all that, and just kind of he liked the sound of it. So as legend has it, he used it on Back in Black. It was the only wireless system out back then, so everybody used it. David Gilmour used it. Eddie Van Halen used it. I think everybody used that Schaefer wireless when it first came out, and it had a sound to it. So anyway, the Heat Seeker video is coming in a couple days. I finished up a track for it yesterday, and I'm working on a video for the Friedman Jakey Lee 50 watt JE. I guess that's called the JEL 50. Gonna do something fun with that, because in that amplifier, basically you've got two channels, and one of them has a boost that you can switch in or out. One channel is like his plexi channel, so it's basically a plexi with a master, and then the other channel is basically a JCM 800, but it's got a boostable gain mode, and there's switchable brights. So in other words, in that one amplifier, you can kind of have plexi with a master, JCM 800 with the typical, like it is a JCM 800 channel basically, and then a gain boosted 800. That's kind of his Jake mode, boosted mode. So I thought what I would do with it is, I'll use the boosted mode a little bit. Probably everybody did that in videos and stuff for it, but I thought I'll try and actually get it as close as I can to my JMP 50 up there, that Marshall. See how close I can match the tone to a 4-hole Marshall. I'll see how close I can match the tone to a 2203 that I have here. Circuit, like the JCM 800 classic kind of thing. See how close I can get it. And I will also do a little bit of high gain stuff. So yeah, just kind of like see if it'll replace 3 different amplifiers: a modded Marshall, an actual 800, an actual 4-hole 50. That's my idea anyway. So I haven't started on it yet. Maybe start on it tonight or tomorrow and end of the week. We'll see that. Yeah. Jazz Dragon says he's in Winterpeg. What's going on? Is it snowy up there? Snowy up there. Todd says he's noodling on his Mustang while watching. Most excellent. Good to have you all here. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you. Okay, headed down in the chat here. Let's see. Greetings, fellow guitar geeks from Jackson, Mississippi. What's up, man? Joe says fresh pots and breakfast burritos. Excellent. That sounds like a good way to start a Sunday. The fellow from April 6th asked me if I checked out his band. I did give it a listen. Yeah, kind of reminds me of my band 40 Foot Echo from back in the day. Band I used to play with for a while from Canada. Sound good in that style, What do we got here? Looking to either replace or shave down Fender American Tele neck, modern deep C carve. Maple neck, no separate fingerboard. I would just get a different neck, man. Honestly, you're asking if you should replace or shave. I'll tell you why. Because you could probably sell the neck. You shave that neck, you're risking damage. You're risking making it. It's a fine line, and people generally go too far, and it never quite. I don't know. It just doesn't quite turn out right. Whereas you can get a replacement neck, and you can even get replacement necks with Fender logos, right? I think from Warmoth that are like licensed, official. With whatever carve you want. So why not go that route, Yeah. You could almost then get into it for free. Like, let's say you sold the neck, you could probably buy a replacement because you'll get a couple $100 for it, and then you could probably buy a replacement that you like, or you could keep it and then you can always put it back on. And if you decide you don't like the thinner neck, you can always sell it. So I don't know. I just think shaving, I've done that a few times, and it kind of I never ended up with something where I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It was always like, it doesn't really feel that different than what I had, or it's like I went too far, like when I scalloped the neck myself and stuff. And, you always think you're doing it about right, and then you realize you went pretty far. At least that's what I think. A little bit goes a long way with this kind of stuff. So if you do it, just do it with somebody you trust and have them just do a little bit and then check it out. Because it's amazing how a little bit can really feel different, I think. Oh, I just got a little wave of fatigue. It's the problem with coffee. It's like, oh, I'm up. Oh, no, I'm not. Who's in Todd's in Nova Scotia. Sunny but very cold Nova Scotia. Sounds good. Dory's here. What's up? You guys are enjoying Sunday Live. You said thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thanks for having you here. Michael wants to know if I can recommend a 112 for Fender Blackface style amp. Which speaker should I choose? It really depends. This is a funny one for me because I'm such a Celestion guy. And even, I see players like Landau, and he's always putting Celestions in Fenders, from a V30 to, different ones, So, I quite like the A type if you want more of a, I mean, they kind of designed that to be a more American sounding speaker. To me, it just really sounds like a nice warm greenback, It's like, it's a great speaker if you don't want any fizz on top too for gain. The A type, kind of underrated. But I tend to think a nice H75 creamback or something is always good in an amp like that, like an open back. And if you're looking for a cabinet, get something from either like Mojo or Avatar, that's like a 112 half open back or oval open back or something like that. They'll have plenty of, to look at there with different Tolex and grow cloth and stuff that'll match your amp nicely. And yeah, I would just say Mojo or Avatar, and I would probably go with a Celestion, but I just, part of that is ignorance, really, to be honest. Like, my friend James has just texted me. I want to see, because I think he's at the oh, that's cool. Oh, that's neat. He's at the Paul McCartney show in cool. He's at the Paul McCartney show in Liverpool right now, and I was able to get him a that's great. I was able to get him a sort of like a guest pass, where there's like, before the show they have like a hospitality room or whatever, and he just sent me that. So I guess Paul popped in before the show. Pretty cool. That's awesome. Awesome, dude. Have fun. It's in Manchester. He's in Manchester right now. That's so cool. Excellent. That's really neat. Ebar says to Ben Coombs, good day. Good day, Ben Coombs. Good day, Ebars. What's going on? What's going on? Let's see. Great sounds you made for the quad. Cortex, says Dylan. Yeah, thanks. I mean, I really was happy with the way they came out, and hopefully people, try them and dig them and stuff like that. Merry Christmas. Got anything nice coming? Man, I got so much going on guitar wise right now. I feel like Christmas came early. So I got a couple neat new, here's one I can show you. There's a couple that I can't yet. But this one is really great, and I'm gonna play it when I go over on tour in January with Classic Rock Show, and my friend James that is watching Paul McCartney right now. This is a Suhr. Let's talk about this for a second. This is a Suhr antique tea that they're doing. So they're roasted necks. It's I don't know if it's a C standard or C medium neck, but it's a nice neck. It's a nice full C is what it is. A lot of them have some flame in the neck. This one's got, it's funny because it's not really showing up there, but it looks like more than that to me in person. A little bit of flame in the back of the neck. Really nice, sort of like, I don't know, whatever they call these. I don't know if they're 6150 or 6105 style. They're the kind of medium, somewhat tall fret, not real big, but nice, They feel really, really good. And then this one is, I think, called Charcoal Frost, I think is this color, they're all these kind of really nice vintage colors, that existed. You can get them in a Inca silver, you can get them in a seafoam green, candy apple red, I believe Fiesta red, I think. And it's just a really, really nice guitar, and I believe it's got the Mateus Asado pickups in it. They're really nice, clear neck pickups, got a lot of clarity to it. A little lower output than, say, like I have another an older Suhr T that's looks like a 50s style one, and it has a hotter bridge pickup, more like a broadcaster, like beefy bridge pickup, and then the neck pickup's darker. This one is more like sort of 60s style pickups, I think, and they sound really good to me. I like them. They've got a lot of clarity and just really good. So we're going to do some fun tunes that that guitar will be perfect for in Classic Rock Show. So that's a fun one. For that's new to my little stable, and I've always wanted a nice kind of, I mean, I have a 60s Tele, I have a 66, and it's a great guitar. Don't necessarily want to take it on the road, so I've wanted a nice kind of road, you know, I like to play Suhrs too when I'm on tour. I like to, you know, if it's a you know, guitar of the 25.5 scale length variety, bolt on neck, I like to play a Suhr. So, you know, especially so it's nice that I've got a 60s style, you know, T style guitar that's from them that I can now use on tour. And then there's some other fun stuff around here. So here's another fun thing that showed up this week. So we could take a look at this if you want to. I haven't even taken it out yet. This is a Danelectro Spring King. Now, a few years ago, they made this is an actual spring reverb in a pedal. A few years ago, they made one, but it was really big, you know, big pedal because you had to have room for the spring tank. Well, I guess they've found a way to build it into a much smaller enclosure. So that's kind of fun if you play surf music or you just like that kind of, you know, it's taller than a Phase 90, but about as wide. Another inch taller, I would say, but that's got to be for the spring. And then I think you can kind of kick it and it'll do the thing, you know, if you want to do that. Tone control and a reverb control. Probably sounds really good. I got to give it a go after Sunday Live. We'll give it a try. But anyway, Spring King from Danelectro. That's pretty cool. Kind of fun. Definitely the smallest spring reverb I've ever seen. I have a very big spring reverb that I've got to make a video for that's in the hallway. It's much more like a studio style. It's like a piece of furniture. It's big. Made by a nice fellow up in Canada. And he's been waiting a long time for his video, so I better do that soon, or he'll be mad at me. Okay, what else we got here? With the UA Ruby Lion, is there any noticeable latency? I wouldn't say so. It's so low, man. I mean, like probably under sub 2 milliseconds, you know? So no, I would say no. And they're really cool pedals. Those are my two favorite, the Ruby and the Lion. Although there's some out now that they put out kind of a bit of a rush of them. There's like the higher gain ones I haven't even tried. So there's the Tweedy one, the Blackface one, the Voxy one, the Lion. Yeah. Sean Tubbs did a great review of the Heat Seeker. Cool. He's great. He's growing his hair too. I saw that, just like me. Sean's awesome. I'm kind of doing an AC/DC style track and had fun coming up with that yesterday. I actually borrowed Friedman's Gretsch to play in it for the Malcolmy stuff, and then I used my 335 for the other parts, and it sounds cool. Yeah, so we'll get that done soon. I'm pretty far back in the chat, so there's a super chat I'll grab and I'll move down here. Simple question: if you can only have one modeler from Fractal, Quad, Cortex, or Line 6, which one would you choose and why? I hate that question just because I always say that I don't mean I'm not to put anything on you, but I don't like picking favorites when it comes to them. The honest thing that I think about that is, honestly, it's almost like, well, which one's best, Vox, Fender, or Marshall, right? And the answer would be, well, what style of music do you play? You know, if you were Eddie Van Halen, the best is probably the Marshall. If you're Stevie Ray Vaughan, might be the Marshall, but no, probably the Fender, right? If you're Brian May, it's going to be the Vox. So the thing is, with the three things that you're talking about, they're all good. It's like picking between a, you know, it's like I say, it's a Lexus or it's an Infiniti or it's a, you know, Mercedes or BMW. It's like they all get you from A to B in style. It just depends on, you know, many different things, actually. So what I like to say is, for Axe Effects, it's although they're this kind of interesting little wrinkle here is that they seem to be changing this a little bit with that new VP4 unit. It's very easy to use, evidently. But the one thing with Axe Effects is they're deep. So there's generally a bit of a learning curve. But they're deep. The flip side of that is that you can do so much. Like, if you want to get in and edit things extremely deeply, you can. They've given you the opportunity to get in there and do everything, like with the effects and with the amps. And I mean, you can basically get in and virtually modify the amplifier, like on a circuit level, you know, actually changing things like tone stacks and bright caps and things like that in the models. So the Fractal is great for people that really like to get in there and fine tune and route things in crazy ways with their kind of their routing and their matrix, and you can get in and do all this stuff. If you want simplicity, maybe not. You know, so I think the Helix lies somewhere in the middle. Maybe it's a lot of options and stuff. Still relatively simple, but it's more complex to me to use a little bit than the Quad Cortex. The Quad Cortex is almost like their plugins. The Neural DSP guys have they're sort of masters of the UI. I think they're really, really, really good at the interface and you know, making things relatively simple and easy to use. Almost don't have to crack a manual to figure out how to do things. How do I route an expression pedal to a certain, you know, effect parameter? I can figure that out on a quad on my own. You know, with other units, maybe not so much. You know, but with the quad, I was able to figure out almost everything I need to do. I can figure out on my own. Occasionally, I got to reference a manual. And it's just like I just can't quite figure out how to do this. Oh, there it is. You know. As far as the sound of the units, the quad has one thing that it'll do that at least, unless I'm unaware of something, you know, the quad does captures. So that puts it a little bit more in the almost like a hybrid between a Kemper and an Axe Effects in some ways, because you can do capturing, which means if you've got a nice amp and you want to put the sound of that amp in there, you can do that. And that's what I do. Generally, I use not the models very much. Nothing wrong with them. What the hell was that? It just fell. My headphones? I think my headphones just fell on the floor. How did that happen? It's weird. I hang them off the edge of my monitor and they just fell. For no reason. Ghost in the machine or whatever. So anyway, I like capturing because I like the sound of my amps and stuff. So for instance, when I was going on tour with Fight for Fighting, I needed a fly rig. I put my top hat that's up here, this one over here. I took that and I put 2 captures in there, and that's what I've used on 3 or 4 tours, I guess. Yeah, three summers I've used those sounds, you know, ever since I put it in there 3 years ago, that amp. It's amazing the passage of time. It feels like I've had that amp for 2 years, but I guess I've had it almost 4 or something. It's just crazy. And this one I realized I've had for like 5. Like time is just rocketing by. It's ridiculous. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas. So scary because I haven't shopped yet. Anyways, so it really just depends. Now, a Helix, I would say, like line 6, one thing that's nice that they've done is include, I think Fractal has this too on one of their units, but does an FM9 have a built-in expression pedal? I just can't remember right now, but I know the Helix does, of course. It's got built-in. So if you want to do wah stuff or volume, it's nice to have that built-in right on the unit, right? So that could be another plus. Oh, I don't want to have a separate expression pedal. I just want everything in one. Well, Helix is good for that then. So there's all these little things that are like, it's like when you're shopping for a car and it's like, which one would I choose? Well, it almost doesn't matter what I would. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, I guess. I have them all. When I tour, I use a quad. There's a few different reasons. One of the primary reasons is really the capture thing, because I was able to take my amp and put it in there. So that tells you, you know, my reason, but that might not be important to you. You know, you might be like, well, I don't care. I just, you know, really like the sound of the SLO 100 that's in the Axe Effects or whatever, or the, you know what I mean? Or I like the sound of some of their cab sims. And so maybe I should get that and be like, yeah, go that way. If there's something that speaks to you, I really want to have a built-in expression pedal and I want it in everything in a floor unit. Well, now you're talking about the Helix. So that's my answer. It's a carefully thought out answer. Pete and Suhr nerds want to know, what is the locking nut size for a Floyd equipped Suhr? Does Suhr do a locking nut in 1.65? Well, my guitar, that's a great question. My guitar neck that has a Floyd on it is 1 11/16 width. If I had a tape measure in here, I could measure. I think you can get multiple. I've got 2 sitting right there. There's a modern sitting there, and I'm not sure what the width is on that. This is a 1 11/16, and I would say this nut comes right to the edge of the fingerboard. So I would say this width is 1 11/16. But I know you can get 1 5/8 width too. So it just depends, right? They've got the R sizes, right? R2, R3, all the different Floyd sizes. So I really think it depends on, you can specify and they'll put the right nut on there. If you're asking about a specific one, you could probably, if it's a guitar that already exists, they could look up the serial number and tell you the exact spec. So it just depends. You can contact customer service and say, I've got serial number, blah, 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 blah. Can you double check what the nut size is on this guitar? And they'd be able to tell you. Is there much difference between the BE100 and SS100 version 2? Ooh, great question. I talked about this with Dave the other day when we were chatting about stuff, because we chat about stuff all the time. I said, it can be a little confusing sometimes. Maybe like we were just discussing like the range of amps, and I said it's like I don't know, like what's the difference between a B100 and a deluxe and a B50, and the exact differences between the different amps could be probably something that could be featured in a video, a Friedman video, where the differences between the tones and maybe which amp is right for a certain kind of player it might be good. And he totally was on board with that. I mean, he's thought about it actually in the past, like, just a little bit more clarity, because it's sort of it's cool to have a lot of different amps and stuff, but he recognizes that, people might not have total perspective on what some of the differences are. So if you already have a PT1, okay, so this is the other thing, is that we're basically all talking about amps that are derived from the Marshall topology, and it's variances in parts, it's variance, and sometimes they can make a significant difference, but we're talking about slightly different levels of gain, slightly different levels of bass through the preamp, bright caps, like different little things, but they're all kind of very, very similar in their gain stage into cathode follower into phase inverter, with the stages tuned slightly differently and stuff. There's many different ways to skin a cat. Like, you change one part here or there and you can change the thing. But we're talking about the amps that could, the reality is a BE100 of various, whenever they were made, SS100 and a PT100 could all be dialed to sound pretty darn close. They're not the same. There's differences, but they could be. They're more similar than, if you were to throw a Fender style amp into the, a Boogie, like a Mark II-C or something, So, whether or not there's enough difference there is sort of in the ears of the beholder. Yeah. What 6L6 amp is my favorite? I mean, I've played a number of really good. I don't have a ton. I've got a Hedgehog sitting right here. That's a dual 5881. I've got my 6L6 Bassman. I've got an SLO 100. That's basically 6L6s. The 5150 original block logo. I had one of those right when they came out, and it came with Philips 6L6s. It was pretty great. That was a great, metal amp. Out of my amps, I mean, the one that probably gets the most use is the SLO, I would say, which is, to think I'm sort of picking a high gain choice, kind of funny, because people think 6L6 and Fender-y. And, the Hedgehog is a really underrated amplifier. We got to give it some props. It's sitting right here. I've been meaning to play through it a little bit. I've had it for over 10 years. It's, and it if you go back and watch my original video for it, it's a really great sounding amp. Like, it was for those that aren't familiar with it, it was, I'll take a little picture of it here and put it up. This Suhr's kind of somewhat Dumble, design homage, shall we say, that amplifier. And it basically is a single channel amplifier, but it has an overdrive circuit in it, like Dumbles did, you know. So you can either grind up the channel and then add the overdrive on top, or you can keep the channel totally clean and add the drive. But it's got a great, I mean, if you're doing a you know, more American style, like I always said, if I was ever to play with Don Henley again, that it would be the perfect. I'd be like, I'd probably use that amp actually. It'd just be great for that, like doing the Fendery thing, a little more smoother drive and all that, fat, you know, a little less, you know, attack on the notes when you're overdriven and all that stuff. So it's pretty great, you know, for that type of thing. You know, it's got beautiful sound, and he's, you know, he put this kind of like MIDI switching in it, so that there's like you can switch the amp via MIDI and actually store presets. So it's just interesting because it's basically kind of like a Dumbly thing that you can actually store like different, because it's got these different switches for mid boost, bright, the overdrive channel, the effect loop, and the state of any of those you can actually store and then send it a MIDI message and it'll recall, right? So it's kind of interesting. It's like on the switch, it comes with a foot switch that was like a basic foot switch, but you can actually store 4 sort of sounds or presets. It's kind of like a very simple MIDI foot switch with 4 presets. I went from clean to boosted clean to the mid-range on, and then to the gain on in the last one, the overdrive circuit. So I had a sparkly sound, I had a little bit pushed, a little more rock rhythm, and then a overdrive, you know, all on 4. Well, what really more do you need, you know? So it's a pretty cool amp. I'm gonna pick that one, I guess, for an answer to that question, at least currently. Wow, I think Crazy Tube Circuits hit every YouTuber with that heat seeker. Well, that makes me feel better because I didn't get mine out on time. As is what happens. But man, Crazy. Oh, I got to give Crazy Tube Circuit some other props. Wow, I put the Unobtanium Raw on my pedal board because I tried it against. He sent me one a while ago, and I love the Unobtanium. Major, you know, proponent of that pedal. Just sounds great. And he sent me an Unobtanium Raw to try. And I guess it's got slightly different, you know, transistors in it. It's got new old stock germanium. And I'm sort of it's probably not going to sound that different or whatever. I'm sure my original one sounds great. And the original one does sound great. And I used it for years. Whoa, though, like it actually, I was like, ooh, when I tried it. I mean, I was directly A/Bing them. And especially the Dumbly side. It's kind of speaking of Dumbles, it's kind of a Dumble amp side and then a Klon in one pedal. You can use them as 2 separate pedals if you want to. Like actually put them in a loop switcher on different, you know, or you can just use it like one pedal and 2 up, you know, an overdrive with a boost, basically. Depends, whatever you want to do. So the Dumbly side, just ampy, organic, like my original Unobtanium, which I've used for 3 years or something on my board, and I use, you know, the Dumbly thing for kind of like a, you know, Fendery amp rhythm drive is kind of the main thing I was using it for. And sometimes I'll boost it with the Klon side, like when we were playing Eagles and stuff with Classic Rock Show. I'd just use that pedal with both sides on for solos. But the new one, man, like, yeah, it's just juicy and more, it's a little more ampy and a little more like, I don't know, like the rhythm side is just like this organic, a little more like mids, and in a way that I was just like, that is going on the board right now. So I put it on yesterday. I will be using that on my little tour coming up. I should move through the chat a little bit here. Always been a Marshall Les Paul guy, but I found myself wanting to try 70 silver face Fender. That's interesting. I don't know that much about them other than some are very different than their 60s counterparts, and other ones, say the Princeton, for instance, didn't change at all. So Princeton reverbs are a find, you know, if you find a 78 or something, because they made them to like 81 or 2, circuit was unchanged. So it's just like the late 60s ones. And I like that for that reason, you know, because I'm more like those. I don't, when you see the twins and the master volumes and the real clean and all that stuff, I'm not into that stuff. So, but so yeah, my pick would be the Princeton, but it's because it's like the 60s ones. Not the first pedal to copy the Schaefer Vega sound, the Solo Dallas is. Yeah, that's 100% true. But it'd be the only sort of one that includes an ampy Marshall-y sound in there too. Solo Dallas is great. I have one. I've got the tower sitting right. Wait, where is it? It's in here somewhere. Oh, I don't know. It's in here somewhere. The tower. I've got that one. The pedal ended up, I had the pedal and ended up with a friend of mine. She never gave it back. So I guess it's good. So what else we got here? Working on my trilling. Any hint on what Dave has in store at NAMM? I can't tell you, but I don't. Can't really tell you, but it's cool. He does have something cool coming. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. There's some neat stuff coming at the NAMM show this year for sure. It's going to be good. Apache amp. What was the Apache amp? I don't remember that, man. What's the reason why you see a lot of Fender Strats with the rear cover removed? I think people just take it off and then they don't bother to put it back on. They get in there to change the springs. Maybe they go from like 9s to 10s or E to E flat like often. They're like, it's too much trouble to take the screws in and out every time and I lose them. Or I've actually lost them. I'll take the cover and I'll put one screw back in just so that I can, and then I'll lose the other one. It's like happens all the time. So it's funny. My Suhr HSS model prototype doesn't even have screws for the back. Like it's got no cover on the back. The stock, the way the guitar comes is with the cover, but mine was the first prototype and I'm not sure why they didn't, but it never had screws for a cover even drilled. So my silver one doesn't have a cover on the back. So it's kind of funny, but I guess it's all those reasons. I would say the most common reason is, well, it's either kind of Eddie Van Halen cool, like it's just kind of parts of caster, like, you don't need it. It's raw. It's cool. It's neat. Put the pickguard where you absolutely need it. Or people like to adjust the springs if they're going between gauges or tunings, and they like to trim at a certain angle and they need to constantly adjust it. Yeah. Yep. Who are you playing with these days? Well, I'm doing Classic Rock Show and I'm doing Five for Fighting. In the summers, I've done a Five for Fighting run every summer for the last few years. The band that had that song Superman and 100 Years. And John Androgis, an old friend of mine, so I go out on tour with him. There's some other stuff brewing for next year, and I it's really exciting, but I can't talk about it yet. So I hope it's all happening. I think it is, and it'll be really neat. But and then there was even I had another option for something else that I was really excited about, and I don't know if I can do it because of this other thing. So it's like it's all gravy at this point. It's like really a time of abundance when it comes to good work coming up. But I'll more soon. Maybe within a month or something, I'll be able to talk about some things, or maybe not. But I hope so. I hope I know what I'm doing in the summer of 2025 in a month from now. So we'll see. And then I can tell you, I hope. Favorite Van Halen song? Too hard to pick a favorite. Too hard. It'd be even hard for me to actually pick a favorite off each album, But I've got, my list of favorites is long, I guess. I mean, like off the top of my head, stuff that's popping in my head right now, like Hear About It Later is so cool. The intro, the beautiful flange guitar part. I love little guitars. For being kind of the underdog Van Halen 6-pack album, Diver Down has 3 killer songs on it. 1984 has the deep cuts from Top Jimmy. I was listening to Top Jimmy the other day, and I was like, listen to all that little intricacy and all the guitar parts. Nobody even really talks about it. It's so good, Like, it's crazy how good it is, Like, there's the intro. Right? There's all that. But the verse, all the little dyads and things that he's playing, and that little descending down that kind of ties the phrases together. Oh, my God, it's good, And then the crazy solo that ends with a like there's so much humor in it and it's so damn groovy and then the other, album cuts from that. I mean, from All Weight, which is incredible, to, I guess that was maybe a single, was it? I think, but Girl Gone Bad and House of Pain, or to me, are like just epic, So I love all that stuff too, because that was maybe the, when I came to Van Halen, it was like that album was late '83, and that was my sort of the first stuff I really started heavily listening to, and then I went backwards, because of my age and stuff. So, so maybe that's why. But Van Halen 2, I mean, probably my favorite cover is "You're No Good," because it's so creative how they took kind of the the original tune was kind of up, and even though it's kind of like dark lyrically or whatever, I guess, they really went and made it dark, and it was so cool how they slowed it down and then did the screaming guitar in the chorus, wow, so cool. And then the solo is like epic, absolutely epic. We talked about that last week. I was doing the whole all that, it's so good. So anyways, that's just a few off the top of my head, but okay, what else we got here? Let's see. Oh, the Jackson baritone. Yeah, that's a borrowed Jackson well, it's kind of, I get to use it when I want to, but it's not in this room right now. But the cool guitar, it's a signature model. I wish I could remember the fellow whose signature it is, but anyway, I use this green Jackson baritone guitar in the video for the SLO 2 pedal. So whoa, what's going on with my D-tuner flipped around? Yeah. It's like, why is it not going to E? Okay, let's see what else we got here. Did you consider single coil in the bridge when designing your signature guitar? Well, you're reading my mind, but I can't talk about it. Let's talk. Ask me that in 6 weeks, and we'll talk about it. Definitely. I love single coils, and it's great to have in your stable. I'll just say that for now. The teletype Suhr purchased a PT Sig from a pair of Suhrs that just arrived to the store when I was shopping. The other one was Andy Wood tele style. Cool. We got 303 people online. That's awesome. Great to have you all here. Please hit the thumbs up if you're enjoying the Sunday musings. And great to have you all. Thoughts on heavy guitars? I have a PRS single cut, weighs a ton, but I love the tone compared to my old Gibson, which is relief cut. Yeah, I mean, if you like the sound, I bet you find there's a solid low end, right? Like the bass is deep. That's what I find many times with heavy guitars, is that there's a beefy, cool low end that's like the fundamental is there. That seems very solid. I don't know how else to describe it. My Black Les Paul isn't exceptionally heavy, but it's probably right about 10 pounds. So maybe 9.7 or something, So it's right there on the edge of like, oh, if this was another half a pound, it'd be getting towards boat anchor, but it's not, it's like, it's fine. And that guitar has this depth to it that I really like. So I think there is a thing to that. And hardwoods, hard ash, hard maple, there just always seems to be more fundamental note or something. Maybe it's just my perception, but like, you know what I mean? And then like if you start getting towards real thin, or not thin, like light woods, swamp ash to me and stuff, I love it. And it's just a different sound. It's kind of nice for strats, especially if you like the 50s thing, the more air, blowing across the top of a Coke bottle, kind of, a little bit more hollowed out in the tone, and it's really great for those beautiful cleans and stuff. It's a different sound, so it just depends what you want. with Les Pauls, I think it's like a fine line. I think it's, if you get a heavy one, it can be a rock machine. And then if you get real light, it can start to sound weird for rock, but good for other things, you know. So it starts to sound more like the Telecaster thing or something. Just kind of, I don't know, less dense, less solid note, I think, maybe, or something. And there's always that balance of like the solid fundamental and then the harmonics in the air and stuff. And then maybe that's why mid-weight or light mid is got a nice, you know, resonant thing, but it's not too like punch you in the face solid. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Just theories. I have a new Pete Thorn signature HSS Inca Silver from Cosmo. That's cool. Cosmo Music. It's in your, look at your avatar. Fantastic, Kevin. I hope you like it. Best guitar I've ever played. Wow, that's incredible. I love it. Thank you for being an inspiration. Hey, man, that's so cool. And I'm proud that you put the picture of it there. I love it. I still love the original color combo. You know, it's kind of funny. I'll get mine since we're talking about it. It's kind of funny because I never would have thought that I would be a Perloid pickguard guy. I just wouldn't have thought, you know, that this would be my thing aesthetically. But one was sent to me with pickups in it, and I was just like, oh man, that looks good with Inca Silver, you know. And so on this particular color combo, I absolutely love it, which is why you only see it in my model on this combo, you know. Like, I don't think I would like it on a black guitar. The silver, just because the pickguard kind of has silvery blue in it, I don't know, it sort of just looks good. So, and this is the one that you'll find the difference with yours is you've got a backplate and I don't. And I don't know, I just never bothered having them put one on. So John actually just did the frets on this guitar for me and set it up because this one has been the most sort of used the last few years, and it was getting a little squirrely. And John looked at it and said, oh yeah, I got to do the frets. So it plays like friggin' butter right now. Like the action is just, you know, because anytime John does it, it's like nuts. So they stay consistent with the roasted necks and stuff. I mean, they don't shift that much over time, but any guitar will shift a little bit no matter what, especially if you're going from England to America and, you know, shipping it and playing it a lot and stuff. You know, they just need to get, you know, tweaked after a while. Thanks for getting the guitar, man. I hope you like it. I'm glad you really dig it. Or at least you said you really dig it. So I hope you like it. I hope you already said you liked it. I hope you like it long term and that it serves you well and then it's a good musical tool for you. Brian just installed your Thorn Booker 2 in a new build, really digging it. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for being supporters. Appreciate it. I got a new in the box Ibanez 335. Cool. Needs a serious setup. Strings are 1/4 inch off the frets. Yeah, take it to good tech. I mean, setup is everything to me. It's like, you know, got to get it playing good, or it's no fun. Is Synergy making a new desktop interface? I have no idea. Actually, I haven't heard anything about that. Yeah, I don't know. Just ordered a Steve Morse E658 head. Saw your video. Amp basically has everything needed. Which one? You mean the Steve Morse amp? I don't think I ever made of it. That's an Engl, right? Isn't it? I don't know it though. But Engls are good amps. We're fans of Engl. I haven't got to play a ton, but I think what I have seen is that they do really good work, and like the stuff I've tried, I thought was really good. And you know, you just don't see them that much in America. It's just a distribution thing, I think. But what I've seen, I like, and what I've heard, I like, and I think they've got their own kind of take on things and stuff. And it seems like a pretty cool company to me. So, yeah, that's my take. Yeah. Why are pickups $120 now? I got $30 Wilkinsons on Amazon. They sent me. I mean, that sounds. I've never paid $30 for a pickup ever. The cheapest pickups I can remember seeing, and they weren't $30. They were probably like 60 or something, or 50 were Schallers, or those, remember those golden 50s, or you could buy them from Stu Mac for pretty cheap. But I mean, back in the day, Seymour Duncans were like 70, 80 in the 80s, I think. That's my memory of it. I don't ever remember paying $30 for a guitar pickup aftermarket. So 120 seems pretty fair to me, to be honest. It's just cost of things, you know. I mean, geez, I've paid a lot more than that. You buy a set of Tom Holmes 10, 15 years ago, they were $500, you know, just supply and demand. So, yeah. Have you ever played Mesa Boogie style single rec? Kind of like it. No Marshall, but I was looking around, saw some videos. A single rectifier. This is the 50-watt one, right? A friend of mine had one. I think the other guitar player in 40-foot Echo, that's what he was using. Eric. So I think, yeah, I remember it. I mean, it basically sounds really similar to a dual, just like gives it up a little sooner because it was a 50-watt. I think it's the amp I'm thinking of, right? It was just a 50-watt version of a dual rectifier, and that was what Eric used in 40-foot Echo on tour. So, there's a little super chat there from Dave. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Keep me flowing in coffee around here. Appreciate it. I gave a politician response, I guess, to the... Actually, I really didn't. I gave a measured response, I think, that was well thought out. So there, Eddie. No, really. I mean, like, Axe Effects people are... I assume this is in the modeler question. Axe Effects people are like... It's like a religion. You know, they go all in. You know, Dweezil Zappa. You know, there's some folks are like really down that path. And they will tell you that's why, and that they've, you know, they're... And they're not wrong, you know, they've gone all the way with it, right? Helix people will tell you why they love theirs, you know, and why the other ones didn't work for them. Quad Cortex people will tell you, you know, I said why I use one, because I use one because I can put my top hat in it or whatever, which is the right sound for a certain band I was in, right? And also just ease of use and stuff like that. It depends what's important to you. So it wasn't really political. I asked you to ask yourself what's important to you. And then I can tell you which one's right for you. It's not like which one's best. Which one's best for you? Blonde, redhead, or brunette? Exactly. Let's see here. What else we got here? Thought on the Fender custom vibrolux. What's that? Is there like a new version that I should know about? Custom vibrolux is usually a 210 of the 210 variety. Let's see. Fender custom vibrolux. There's a question on the gear page. Tell me about the Fender custom vibrolux reverb, but it's going back to 2010. Okay, so it's basically just a... I don't know, did they even make it anymore? I guess they do. A 210. So a vibrolux is basically... I think this is the one that you're talking about. It's basically a 210 deluxe reverb, sort of. Now, the one that I'm seeing here has white knobs on it. So is that... there's different versions. Kind of the brown one. Is this the amp that I think Nuno used some sort of vibrolux on? Was it the Waiting for the Punchline? I think that was blonde, and I think he plugged it into a 412. But anyway, it's kind of there's sort of a deluxe reverb with 10s, so it's going to be a little snappier, a little more taut, a little less creamy mids, a little more like scooped and fast in the attack. That's it. It's like sort of like a pro reverb versus a super reverb. I don't think there's much difference except for the 12s and the 10s. Is that right? I think my Fender knowledge is a little sketchy. I'm much more honed in on Marshalls. Didn't Ibanez do a George Benson? Yeah, and they did the John Schofield, and Ibanez has made a lot of great hollow bodies over the years, and they definitely kind of had it sewed up with the jazz fusion guys. They seem to have a lot of people. I mean, Pat Metheny, a lot of people used them, and those early '80s ones are great. I had a roommate with one that was really nice that kind of looked like Schofield's. They were well built guitars. They had nice necks, and they kind of just were, they were a little fusion looking, but they were pretty cool for sure. Yeah. What's this say from September Fire? Last week I was actually asking about Bareface speakers from the UK. They design special cabs. Bareface speakers. Anybody know about them? Bareface speakers. UK. Let's take a look. Oh, damn it. I'll put that in here. Wait one sec. Come on. I've got my mouse doing like so that the right side does right click stuff and the left side does other stuff, and I hate it because it's like I'm always going over the edge and it's going to the other side, and I'm like, what is happening? Ultra lightweight, high power bass and guitar speaker cabinets. Don't know anything about these, never seen them. They have a nice website. Here's one that looks like a 210, 212. Here's a 212. They make FRFR cabs. They make, yeah. I've never tried these. I don't know. Is my answer. I'm not sure. Super chat there. I got to grab in a sec. Let's see. 'Twas the ghost of Christmas past, says Melon Husk. Okay. I've got a buddy, says Eric, who is younger and trying to get his Germino Lead 55 to act as a metal amp, offered using overdrives or boosts to send it into the stratosphere. Well, to get into true sort of metal territory, you're probably going to want to, maybe some simple modding, to be honest. Yeah, pedals, but it'll never quite, So you probably want to do the kind of the Jose stuff, bare minimum, which is basically putting a gain boost in front of the amp and adding a master, And if you do that and a saturation circuit, it's pretty metal. You can hear if go watch my my video that I just did on my Mono Germino and the neural captures, and you can hear the amp with the most metal sound it makes to me, like the most sort of Metallica sound it makes, is with the saturation switched in and using the pre-EQ master. It sounds a little more scooped and full, and with the saturation, it does this aggressive kind of like thing. So have him watch that maybe, and if he wants to get that stuff done, he could have somebody like Friedman do it, and he'd have like a metal machine then, and you can still kind of get the Lead 55 sound. I mean, you can switch it into a mode where you're basically got the stock Lead 55 circuit, except there's going to be a master that's in line all the time that you can just turn up almost all the way or 3/4 of the way up to to take it out of the circuit if you want to. So you can still get there. I mean, it's a question whether he wants to mod his amp or whether it's just easier to get something that's metal, Yeah. Any experience with the Headrush Core Flex Prime 4.0 Super Clone? No, but I have that sitting right here, and that's another thing I need to get to somehow in the next 2 weeks. There's a box sitting right beside me that I have with one in it, and I'm supposed to go in there and do that. So that's going to happen. I got to make it happen, even if it means staying up all night. Yeah. The amp wall is missing the GK. Just saying, says Ben. Dude, that GK I bought is a stinker. It was really not in great shape. The guy kind of, it's the one thing I bought over the last few years where I was like, really? Like, you're going to represent this as being working? Because it really isn't. And so I'm sort of like ready to call it a wash, or if there's somebody out there that can fix it. I mean, it needs speakers, and I'd say it needs caps, and I don't know, there's things that are wrong with it. It powers on and sort of works, but it sounds not right and needs some love. So it was a bad purchase. And the guy that sold it to me shouldn't. I really feel like it's like, come on, man. Like, like I would never send a tube amp to somebody like that and expect them to be okay with it, with that level of issues, It's basically, you couldn't take it and use it for anything right now. It's that bad. So, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just ordered my new holiday present to myself, says Ebarge. Engl Iron Ball. That's cool. Excellent. Good stuff. If you're recording a grungy track and you had one guitar tone with a lot of gain but still wanted clarity, would you double or triple a cleaner track? Yeah, I mean, tripling is a thing, and if you're like Jerry Cantrell, that's what you do, and you could do like experiment, just have fun with it, like do the same tone hard panned left and right, and then do a tone that's 60% of that gain up the middle, all playing the same part. And you might get this punch up the middle that kind of melds with the bass up the middle too. And then the dirtier guitars on the outside probably sound really cool. Like that's how I think about things. Like, oh, maybe I'll try this. I don't know. Like, or maybe it's two cleaner guitars on the outer pair and then the dirty one up the middle. I sort of think it'd be the other way would be better. But those little things are cool to do. Soundgarden, was two amplifiers, most of that record that were blended. It was a Marshall, a 2203 style, I think, and a dual rectifier. For most of, sorry, I didn't say the record, for Super Unknown. Michael Beinhorn, he liked to blend amps. He was in this room and he was like, do you blend amps? You like to record two at once? I was like, I can't really, because he's like, oh man, you got to get that going. Like, that's the way. And I'm like, oh, I wish I could, it's like, I just don't have the lines here to, I mean, I could do it, but maybe I could set up like one. Technically, I could do it, and it wouldn't be that hard. I have two speaker lines feeding into the other room, so I could literally just plug a head into another and just put a cabinet in the other room, and I have two mic tie lines, so I could put one mic on each cabinet, and technically I could record two amps if I wanted to in about 20 minutes. So, what am I talking about? I'm bitching about nothing. Oh, brother. Okay. What approach should I take when trying to play cleaner and faster? Always metronome, minimal movement, practice every day, and just really criticize like whether or not you're playing tight. Only play at your limit and push that metronome up a bit every day, but always playing it clean. Don't go beyond. I do think Andy Wood has this thing where he's like, sometimes you just got to floor it to get there. Like, like go beyond and like practice like that. And I think that he's so good that I kind of get that. Like it's hard, like even 10% of slop from Andy Wood would sound like our tightest playing on our best day. You know what I mean? So, which probably makes it sound cool, but I kind of know what he's saying, but it's interesting. Paul Davids did a whole thing once on practicing a part that was fast and technically kind of difficult, and he sort of mapped his progress over 7 days. You can probably find it on his YouTube, and you can hear him every day practicing it. And I think he kind of went beyond it. Is interesting. He kind of went beyond, and he realized he was playing too fast, like beyond what the part actually was, and that it sounded not. And then once he backed off like 10%, it was like, oh, there it is. So yeah, you kind of just have to daily. I think it's important to do it if it's a difficult part and you want to be able to do it clean and fast, and you need to get it up to speed. Like I'm kind of, like I say, I'm actually just trying to get my left hand going, because little thing about me, cold, that's as fast as I can trill. I'm not very, like, some guys are just with their left hand. Never been that guy. And if I sit there and I do it for a half an hour, it kind of comes, you know? It's like, oh, there it is. And all of a sudden I can kind of go quicker and it sounds pretty tight, but man, I got to warm up into it. I've always been that way. When I first pick up the guitar, I'm slow. So I need to really work on it. And I kind of have to work on it daily. And I always remember a Vivian Campbell instructional video. I think it was a Vivian instructional video, or maybe it was in an interview because he did a video, but where he talks about playing every day. He's like, you kind of have to do it every day. Like, you can't like practice 3 days a week and expect to kind of see these. You'll get somewhat better probably and remember things, you know, but like, it's almost like the gym. You have to be diligent about doing it. Like and when you do it every day, if you actually do it every day, oh, there is there. And it doesn't mean you're going to keep it either. You kind of have to maintain it. Like, you know, just keep, in order for the muscles, I don't know what it is, but in our hands, I think it's just getting the hands synced is this mysterious thing where like you just do it over and over and over and over, and then all of a sudden it's there. It just physically happens. And the little movements you need to do to keep things tight and make it sound clean and everything just sort of happen out of nowhere. Like, especially when you're playing with gain, a little bit of distortion or a lot, and things are messy sounding, and you kind of can tell instinctively, like after if you're at least, you know, an intermediate guitar player, and you can tell like that's not tight enough and I can hear the slop and I need to mute here, and you just sort of develop it, right? It's weird. It's like, I find that interesting, like about guitar players developing like the ability to keep things under control and mute things and stuff, because all metal guys can kind of do it that are really good, you know. They kind of have this innate ability, but I bet none of them could tell you how they got there exactly, like how they got to the point where they were so it's not like well, I took this part of my hand and I put it over the strings exactly when I do this, and then it's like, no, you just kind of do it and you figure out how you need to hold the strings and move your hands and stuff to get there. And it kind of just there's a certain amount that can be taught, a certain amount you can garner from videos and all that stuff. And then there's a certain amount of just you sitting there and doing it and developing it that just comes out of nowhere. It's kind of fascinating. But anyways, yeah. Okay. Have you ever played through a Hughes and Kettner Tubemeister amp? That's that little guy, right? Yeah, a little bit. They're like those little heads that are like the tiny guys. I played through them a little bit in Germany at the GetCon event a number of years ago that I was at. They had some there. Hughes and Kettner was there. I remember they were there. I might even made a video with one that was in one of the rooms, possibly. So, yeah. Okay. So let's see here. Any recommendations on humbucker-sized P90s? Talk to me in 6 weeks. Okay, already using a mini rec, getting the Engl for the extra IRs. That's cool. You're talking about getting the little guy, right? That's awesome. Any text in the San Fernando Valley I may recommend. Go to Eric at Grayson's Toontown, which is in Montrose, just north of Glendale. It's basically North Glendale, and it's a lovely little town too. It's like almost like this little mountain town. That's like the north end of the San Fernando Valley, really. I mean, it's not. It's Glendale. I hate it when people call Glendale the valley. It's not. Pasadena's not the valley either. So the valley starts with Burbank. Guess you could call Burbank the valley, sort of. It's almost its own thing too. So maybe not. Let's say Hollywood Way. That's where the valley starts. Headed. That's the eastern border. Okay, you didn't need to know all that. So, but I would say Grayson's Toontown. I like Eric up there, and he's got some guys that work with him up there. It's a nice little music store, 3-generation family-owned music store. You'd be giving your business to some good folks. Check him out. Grayson's, I think it's Greysons, Grayson's Toontown, it's called, and in Montrose. Yeah. Please do a Floyd block size material shootout, kind of like how Beata did the string gauge shootout. Someone needs to do it. That's actually true. That would be an interesting video, like just on my signature guitar, like shooting out the big brass block versus the standard Goto block or something like that. It would be interesting. I agree. Would you hear a difference? I think I did, at least acoustically. When I first got my signature guitar, there was a little mistake made. They put a regular Goto bridge on it, and it sounded great. I really liked it, but then they replaced it with the bridge that was supposed to go on it, which was just sitting there, and it was the FU tone with a big brass block. And I think I did notice like a little bit of a different tone right when I played it acoustically, and it was like this deep thing that they seem to have. There's this depth with the big brass block. Yeah. I don't know how else to describe it, but there's a bigness. Are you familiar with a guitar YouTuber named John Nathan Cordy? I'm not. I'm sorry. I should check him out. Check him out. Imagine a wah pedal, but it has a fuzz and overdrive circuit, and you sweep between the blend. Kind of sounds like stuff that Morley was doing. Morley made stuff like that back in the day, all kinds of like fuzz wahs and stuff. Check out some of those vintage Morley 70s 80s stuff. They never quite caught on. You know, Steve Vai had, of course, his Bad Horsey wah for a long time that I think was, you know, quite popular. But the other Morleys, and they used this optical sensor. That's kind of interesting. So there was no switch, and you could just stand on it. It would start wahing. Kind of neat. Yeah. Yeah. I think Steve Morse can crossfade between tones like that. He always had a lot of expression pedals, Steve, you know, and I think he did do things where there was like, you know, 4 big Ernie Ball pedals or something that were out there to do different kinds of stuff. I was never clear on exactly what he did with them though. So, do you perform on silent stages? I have, sure. Yeah. I've done a number of different, I mean, silent, you know, there's always a drummer up there banging away, isn't there? So it's kind of defeats the purpose, doesn't it? But don't get me started. Yeah, I did a Mylène Farmer tour, 2013. She's a French pop star, and that was no amps on stage. So one guitar player, the other guitar player, he used ISO cabs. I used 2 notes, load boxes with IRs and PT100 heads. Were I to do a tour like that again, I'd probably just quad cortex it, you know, to be honest. For sure, actually. That's what I would do. That's not really at this point, especially in a pop tour, because you're like, do you know the differences you hear if you do a capture of an amp or whatever, and you're like, oh, it's not exactly the same as oh yeah, like tell me you're going to hear that in a, you know, big line array PA in a pop mix with like lots of orchestration and tons of vocals, and you know, it's like it's not even worth talking about. So I would, if I had a silent stage like requirement, I would probably just go that way for the reliability and stuff. Just make a rig with 2 and quick switching between if there was a problem with them. But yeah, and then I did a tour with Melissa Etheridge where I took an Axe-Fx and used it in Europe direct with no cabs on stage, and that was it was just for a couple of weeks, but it worked actually. Like I set up all my sounds in the States. I used, when I started touring with her, I used I was at a big full-blown wet rig back then, like 412 in the middle and 2 112s for the effects, PT100 and stereo power amp and all that, had all this stuff. And then when I went to Europe, I was like, I can't take all that stuff. So I was like, well, how am I going to do this? And I thought, let's try and replicate it in Modeling World. So I literally put my whole rig on a big AB situation with the Axe-Fx and then the whole shebang rig. And I would go back and forth and just make the tones in the Axe-Fx to duplicate the big rig. It worked pretty good. I mean, you know, I later on with her went back to using, like, well, I used amps when I could, and then when I had to go modeling for fly dates and stuff, what I did was took the Axe-Fx and I used it into a power amp and a cabinet that we would rent locally. So I'd always have like a 412 there, kind of like what I do with Fight for Fighting now, where there's just some sound coming out of the cabinet on stage and get a little feedback and stuff. And then the IRs went to the PA. So kind of what I'm doing with a quad now, I did with an Axe-Fx with her like over 10 years ago. So yeah, like that. What's my favorite Neural DSP plugin? I've tried a bunch. I mean, I really like. I'd have to go spend a little more time to pick a favorite, to be honest. But the Gojira is amazing for metal. The Pliny's a little more like. Was it the Pliny one? Or is it the Nolly? This is the Nolly one. Sorry, not Pliny. The whatever the ones that came available first for quad. Those are the most recent ones that I tried that are metal because I was making the quad video. And the Nolly one struck me as being a bit more like, not in a bad way, but pedestrian, like a little more like, oh, you want straight up kind of tones. Gojira was a little more extreme, like, you know, the effects and stuff and just the distortion. It was a little more like really brutal and like kind of cool, you know, both good. And then like the Mateus Asado one is really cool. The Rabia one has all this neat stuff built in, like the synthy stuff and everything. The Mateus one, it's funny. I had dinner with Mateus a while ago in Japan. And we were talking about how people had a little bit of a misconception about his plugin because they thought, oh, it's just going to be clean, like, you know, because he's Mateus and he's known for doing a lot of like clean stuff. And actually he's like, no, like there's actually like amps in there that are a bit more like driven and stuff. And I think he mentioned that like one of them that they worked with was a matchless DC30 and something, maybe, you know, I think it was a DC30. And, you know, a little bit more like, you know, cranked up amps like are in there. And so, and I thought that too, like, oh, it sounds like little EL84 kind of cranked up vibe on one of them and stuff. So there is a clean amp in there, but then there's like, you know, a dirtier, maybe it was a Bogner or something different that they did. So it's a little more varied, you know, but I liked Mateus's. I thought it was good. The SLO is killer. Like it's really, really good. I did a video of that for them. The Tone King is killer. I don't know how I'd pick a favorite. I'd have to go spend some more time with it, with the Mesa one and everything as well, you know. The archetype ones or whatever are a little more style, you know, like out there and the effects and a little more, you know, crazy tones and stuff. You need neat stuff. And then the amps are just very simple, you know, like the Soldano, you get the Soldano, you know, and it's not too, it's what you want though. It's does the thing, you know, pretty well. So anyway, hard to pick a favorite though. I mean, just they're all over the place for stylistically and stuff. I'm coming out later this month for good guitars. Vari, says Noah. My friend who is a great guitar player is coming from Newfoundland. Any suggestions? Oh, St. John's. Love it out there, man. Spent a little bit of time there. Over on the other side of the island, actually. But suggestions. Go see if Landau's playing. See what's going on at the Baked Potato. Go see a show, you know, at the Baked Potato, or maybe go see a couple. For guitar sort of stores and stuff, I would say check out Angel City. On the same trip, you could probably go to Norm's. I think Norm's might be like not open all the time, or maybe it's an appointment thing, or I don't know what. But anyway, just look into that before you just show up. But they're both in the same, like close to one another. California Guitar, I think it's called, on Van Nuys is always kind of a cool hang. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but last time I was there, it's real cool. It's kind of the border of Van Nuys and Sherman Oaks, sort of, I would say. Check that out. What are other good shops, places to visit? The Guitar Center Hollywood store is pretty damn cool, actually. They did a pretty nice job on it, I would say, if you're around those parts. But there's a few, you know. Angel City is really nice for boutique new guitars that are, you know, kind of special. So I'm doing a clinic there this week, by the way. So clinic coming up on the 19th. How many of you are going? Roll call. Anybody in town? Anybody going to my clinic this week? I gotta start practicing for it. I can remember what I'm playing. Better do that a little bit today, maybe. Yeah. Hello from France, says Pierre. Bonjour. Ça va? Let's see. Reading through the chat. I'm a reading through the chat. And you need to get involved in a kick-ass original hard rock band with some folks you know. I would love to do that. You know, but I'd just like to join something that is already established where they go, hey, you write? Want to write with us? Sure. Hell yeah. But yeah, and it's probably just time to make another record of my own, you know? Yeah. I think I've discovered how you can get more touring gigs. Just make more plans to remodel your home and other commitments you need to not tour for. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then all the touring gigs come up. Precisely. I think I'm pretty damn far back in the chat, aren't I? I better move down. So I'll go quick here. Recently scored a vinyl box, the first 6 Van Halen records. Did you know that the track listings on the jackets of the first 5 are not the running? Or is that right? I never really. Are you sure? That could be really. I always got Van Halen 2 backwards. Like, so to me, it sounds like Van Halen 2 should start out with Light Up the Sky, right? But I think that's the first song on the second side. And that is really confusing to me because that song sounds like, you know, just sounds like it's opening the record. But I think the first song on the record is actually You're No Good, which is totally weird to me. Ted Templeman used to do the album sequences for those records. So after that Anderson Cooper interview with Alex Van Halen, when they played a snippet of a new song, I wonder if Alex will eventually release some unheard material. I mean, you know, I would hope so. I heard some stuff there that was super cool, but might not have vocals on it. Could probably be finished, you know, with the singer. If Wolf wanted to kind of, you know, because they used to, the stuff that I heard was like Wolf and them, like, so, you know, he played me some stuff where he's like, check this out. We just did this, you know, and he'd play me a song and it'd be like, this is friggin' killer. And they would have put background vocals on it. So I remember this one tune that was just great. It had this great guitar solo on it with this, like, he like made a point. He was like, yeah, man, I just thought I'm always playing a lot. I just play one note. So he goes like, he was like bending and milking this one note. And he was kind of like doing it for me, like air guitar, you know, like, and I was like, that's awesome. And it was really, 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 really cool. You know, well, I mean, sitting there doing that, well, he's, you know, kidding me. It was like coolest shit ever. But the song was great is the point. And I said like, well, are you guys working on that? And he sort of like, I don't think Dave's going to like it, you know, sort of thing. And I was like, why? Like, it's awesome. So, that, you know, like things like that could be taken and turned into songs, I guess, with maybe Wolf at the helm because he was playing on it, you know, maybe, I don't know, you know, but I just don't know if he has the interest, or maybe at some point he'll be like, it's time to go back and revisit this stuff now. I've put out a few records of my own, and, you know, maybe he'll want to like go and look at some of that. But I mean, it's probably an awfully, maybe like 10 years removed or something. It wouldn't be as, you know, painful, you know? But why did that thumb just pop up right now? Did anybody else see that? There's things going on here I don't understand. Is that like a thumbs up and they show up on the screen when somebody does it? Is that a new feature in StreamYard? That's interesting. Everybody hit the thumbs up right now. Let's see if a bunch of thumbs pop up. Anybody? No? Thumb? Or am I crazy? Did that just like come out of it? I just, there was a thumbs up that popped up on the screen. I've never seen that before. On this. Maybe I'm crazy. Okay, I'm okay. Don't send an ambulance. It's all right. I'm not having a stroke. Everything's cool. Jonathan, what was your question, Jonathan? Because your phone died, evidently. Okay. Have you ever experienced a sitar sound coming from the G string on an EVH, Wolfgang? Generally, that can be kind of a, you know, the neck's getting a little backbowed, or like if nothing else has changed, you haven't changed the bridge or anything, it's probably like a neck backbowing thing, or a fret is getting a little high somewhere, you know. And sometimes, especially with the stainless steel frets, you can really hear the, you know, if something's a little off, it'll get that little bit of a rattle, you know. Stainless steel is great, but you gotta, the fret dress has to be great and stuff, I've found. Yeah. Yeah. Just, have a tech look at it. Show them what it's doing. With the quad cortex and a Seymour Duncan power stage, what type of speaker would I use? Standard 12-inch guitar cab speaker or FRFR? I use guitar cabs. I just like what they do. I don't feel like I need FRFR. Like with a quad cortex, you can run the different paths. It's really easy to route to a power amp and a guitar cabinet as well as IRs out to the PA. So the FRFR thing to me is like, it never sounds like we're just trying to make it sound like a guitar cabinet. So why not just use a guitar cabinet? Right? That's just my opinion. There's some good sounding full range cabinets out there. There's actually some good sounding stuff coming out that, like, actually I tried one a little while ago that is pretty freaking killer where I was like, okay, that actually, yeah, I could use that. That works. Like, and so that's coming. I think NAMM actually. There's some good stuff coming at NAMM this year. It'll be useful stuff. But for the most part, I've just used guitar cabinets because it's easy, and you can, what the other thing is, you can rent them. And that's the thing. Like when I fly somewhere, I always know I can rent a Marshall cabinet. So one time I showed up and they rented the wrong backline. There was deluxe reverbs there. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because oh yeah, it's got a speaker that I can unplug, and I just plugged the guitar, unplugged from the deluxe. The little speaker cable in the back, and I plugged the deluxe's speaker into the power stage. That worked fine. Sounded great. Like used a couple of the deluxes and actually sounded like really good. So anyways, that's just my thoughts on it. I would say up till now guitar cabs, but there is this thing coming that I was very impressed with, and maybe I would consider using those because they do sound good. So this is the best sounding one I've heard. There's that thumb again. Am I crazy? Do you all see it? Oh my God. My recent build is a poplar body with a roasted neck, featherlight. I love it. There's another thumb. I'm not sure if I like this. I like it though. If you're thumbs upping the video, I like it. So hit those thumbs up. Poplar body with roasted neck, featherlight. That's awesome. Yeah, we got to consider our back as we get older into these equations of tone and weight. So I'm that far back in the chat where I got to get moving down because we were talking about this like 25 minutes ago. So I am thinking of a comment as a good hard barking amp. Can you think of anything else that runs with that pack? Oh, well, I mean, I only have mine, which is a Concord, and it's a unique Concord's an EL34 kind of rock affair. I think the Comet 60 is a little more versatile, maybe. And I think they make an 80 watt with KT88s or something, don't they? But a good hard barking amp. I mean, I would say, it sounds like you want headroom, maybe a 2-rock, with the right pedals. That's a way that people go these days, the two. I don't really know them. I tried one 2-rock in my life, but it did sound good. The great big Fender clean thing. I did think it sounded really good for that sound, and it's just kind of something you can use your pedals with and get a whole bunch of different sounds. Add some reverb, a little compression, and beautiful tones. So, yeah, maybe Tone King, as a lower wattage sort of, the various iterations of Tone King. I like those amps. What I've heard. Yeah. Have you ever experienced an occasional sitar? Oh, I already did that one. Sitar sound. We just did that. Okay. Looking forward to your thoughts on the Tone Dexter. Okay, so here's the thing, Aaron. The Tone Dexter was this device that I was making a video for that you basically kind of model or take a IR type thing of a body of a guitar. And it's supposed to kind of even out the sound between a microphone and a guitar pickup and make your plugged in acoustic sound more like a plugged in acoustic sound more like a mic is on it. You know what I mean? Like a piezo pickup doesn't sound so zingy or whatever. Piezo, whatever we call it. Still don't know. I worked with it for a couple days, and I just kind of couldn't get there, which doesn't mean that I was doing it right. I really tried, but I kind of ended up like going, I don't think it was one of those times where I just went, I'm not quite understanding. And so I kind of backed off, actually. That was my honest thought. Now, I had some interesting results, but then when I went and actually compared them to what the mic sounded like, it didn't really sound the same, which doesn't mean that it sucks. It just means that maybe I was doing something wrong, is possible, that I wasn't quite doing it the right way, that I needed to approach it a different way. But I had enough kind of tries at it and stuff where I kept kind of going at it and then listening to the result and going, this is me. You guys, honestly, it's like people are like, oh, you make everything sound great or whatever. Like I get that a lot and I take it as a compliment, even though it's kind of backhanded, because people are like, oh, like I don't trust his videos because everything sounds good. In this video, I think I would have shown you the two sounds of the what the guitar pickup sounded like, what the guitar through a microphone sounded like, 3 sounds really, and then the resulting sound that I was getting doing the, I don't know if they called it tone mapping or something. But the result, I just couldn't get something that I felt like was appreciably better than the pickup. It sounded sort of like the mic, but darker substantially to me. It didn't have the clarity. It always had this like darkness to it that I couldn't get. I couldn't get it to have the sparkle of the mic, or so it took away the zingy stuff, but there wasn't like a clarity there. And I was like, and I've worked a lot with playing live and acoustics and stuff, and I recognize the fact that sound guys with acoustics, like if you've got a guitar that's got a microphone and a pickup system built in, if you give them very much of the microphone at all, they'll go, no, just go back to the pickup. Because in a PA, people have grown accustomed to the sound of those undersaddle pickups, even if they're just kind of mediocre to us when we listen to them, like say through studio monitors or something. In a room with reverb of the room and stuff and a big PA, if you give them too much of that mic sound, and especially with a band with drums and other people playing, it kind of in a live environment, it just sort of doesn't really work. So if you're going to do I want it to sound like a mic is on the guitar thing, there at least has to be like a fair amount of clarity there. Like a punchy, like that you don't want to take away all the zing and everything that the undersaddle, the things that we think we don't like about them. If you take away all that stuff, sound guys go bonkers. They just like that guitar. It sounds like I can't get it, like in a live setting. For the last 30 years or 40 years or 50 years almost, we've been listening to those undersaddle pickups, probably ever since like the first systems came out in the mid 70s. Late 70s, and they have a certain sound in it, and it's just like that's what people grew used to, and they know how to mix them and stuff, and give people the average Fishman, they'll make it work in a PA. So I just couldn't quite get there, and maybe I was doing something wrong though, so I don't want to chalk it up to like I don't like the thing. Maybe when I've got a little more time and stuff, I could experiment a little bit more. But I didn't feel like I felt like I was, going to make a video where I would show you the differences and go, well, here's the sound that I came up with. And you guys would go, well, I don't know that that's much different or better, or maybe not. You know what I mean? That's my honest, I'm just telling you my honest thing. And that's just my complete, so there you go. Sometimes people say that I'm, whatever, like that's, yeah. So what do you think about that? Tell me what you think. Let's have a talk about it. Would you consider doing an interview with Phil Keaggy, my favorite guitar player? I don't know his playing that much, but yeah, I would. I mean, I have to go and do some. I know he's like legendary, and that a lot of people he's like highly revered. So I would have to go do my research. That's for sure. Yeah. We talking Engl, late to the party, Fireball or Powerball? The only one that I've got, like I've got a Synergy module here that is a Powerball module, and a Savage as well. really like them. Like great, kind of different than anything else I have here, and nice for, you know, like if I do some recording for a record and I want to do something heavier, I think I could make really good use of those. Ooh, got the hiccups. Whoa. Sorry. Okay. FU Tone has pickups from $79. I bought my Mighty Mite pickups there. That's cool. That's good prices. Yeah, I think like if we were to go to, let's see here, Sweetwater, Seymour Duncan. Let's see what Duncans are going for these days at Sweetwater. Looks like a JB is $99. So yeah, right in there for the standard kind of stuff, you know, no cover. Looks like a 59 is 109. So yeah, I mean 80 would be cheap. I think Stuart McDonald generally has not that there's any, I mean, yeah, the FU Tone suggestion. Let's look at Stuart McDonald. I think that they have generally some pretty good prices on pickups and things. So parts and hardware, electronics, pedals, pickups, all pickups. What do they got there now? What do they sell? Yeah, $55. Stuart McDonald humbucker pickups, Stuart McDonald single coil pickups. The single coils are, wow, they're $36. So there you go. They're on sale right now. There's a sale at Stu Mac. They make lipstick tube pickups for $36 on sale. Look at that. You can get a Seymour. Oh, you can buy a Seymour Duncan from them for $99. So these look like the same prices as Sweetwater, kind of similar. You know, they're map prices or whatever, I guess. But and then it looks like they've got a P90 for $75. They've got fully loaded pick guards. That's interesting. You buy Strat pick guards from them with Fender pickups in them, fully wired for $299. Guess that's not too bad. Electronics and everything, full shebang, $300 out the door. Right? They make some Filtertrons. Oh no, those are TV Jones. Those are a bit more expensive. They're like $140, $150 for the TV Jones. So that's kind of cool. There's some options there. There's a sale at Stu Mac. Waiting for the punchline was a vibroverb. I think so. Yeah, I think that's the one he used. If you go back and look at old interviews and stuff, I was like, huh? But yeah, supposedly he took a vibroverb and cranked it up, I think, through a Marshall cabinet or something. And that was the tone, which I could believe. You know, a deluxe reverb with the bass off, like on 10 or 8 or something, and maybe boosted with the right, like pretty vicious, you know? More power than deluxe reverb. Oh, yeah, it's 40 watts. You're right. It's 40 watts. You're right. So, yeah, 210, 40 watts. So more like a Pro then. Is that right? I don't know. Like I said, I'm a little sketchy on my friggin' stuff. Why am I so scared doing a flying V? I don't know. I didn't know I was. I have a flying V. You've just never seen it. It's miniature. It was my second guitar that I ever got. It's in a storage unit in Canada that I pay a lot of money for every month. It's an Anjo, which is probably some offshoot of Hondo. It's red. It's this big. So there. I've owned one probably longer than you've been alive. What's your recommendation for a preamp to put in line with Eventide H910? What do you need a preamp for? Tell me a bit more about what you're doing, as far as, you know, like why you're preamping and stuff. Like what kind of preamp? For the Van Halen tones where everybody slows down and gets dark and I love the Van Halen tunes where Eddie slows down and gets dark and heavy. Yeah, me too. You're No Good. Great example. right? Or even Dirty Movies is like, you know, it's pretty heavy. It's, you know, it's still got that kind of up happy sort of. It's so cool, like in the solo and the freaking slide and everything is so cool. It's so dirty. It's dirty. Okay. Can a Variac mess up your amp? Well, if you go beyond, you know, say your amp's a 120 and you go take it up to 140, yeah, it'll mess up your amp. I mean, how bad? You know, hopefully you just blow a fuse before anything else bad happens, but it might be worse than that. So yeah, you don't want to do that. It's a Variac something to be careful with. But these sort of you know, cathode stripping and things that people talked about when you'd lower an amp from you know, 120 down to 90 volts or whatever. That's sort of a bunch of hogwash, I think we've discovered. I mean, like people do it all the time and nothing bad ever happens. There's amplifiers actually designed like that one right there with 90 volt tap on the power transformer, and you just bias the amp properly for it. And I've used that amp for, well, the better part of 13 years with no problems. Gary? What's that voice from? Gary? Okay. Have you ever seen the Blue Guitar Amp X? A little bit, yeah. Haven't really tried it though. I know Thomas. What do you like between your guitars at Wilkinson Trem versus Floyd? Well, okay, so Wilkinson obviously to stay in tune a little better than a stock you know, tremolo because it locks at the bridge, and that's really nice. There is the extra little stage beyond a vintage bridge of having to lock at the saddle and all that. It's a little more, you know, it's this bridge right here. But the bridges stay in tune great. They sound good, and they've been a good partner, and everything's cool. Floyd, I always say, just is like that extra little bit of tuning stability that, you know, back in the day, it's like when people used a Kahler or when they used a Floyd, the Floyd stayed in tune better. It just did. And the reason being, I mean, they were very different designs, but one of the things about a Kahler was they still used a nut, you know, so you still had a point of friction. That if it was done right, it could be very minimal, but it was still there. And so with a Floyd, if you've got absolutely nothing between point A and point B, because there's a lock nut here, and then, you know, a lock saddle there's no point of friction, zero. So all things considered, if the bridge is set up right, the knife edges are sharp, and everything is returning right back where it should be, you'd stay in tune perfectly. So that's the main thing, is just the perfect tuning stability, you know, with dive bombs and stuff. So with the Wilkinson, you know, there's still a nut. So I get a little bit of tuning instability sometimes? A hair, you know, it still stays in tune. I'd say 90% of the way to a Floyd, you know. That's what I say. That's what I say. Yeah. What do you think of the Beat Buddy? I remember doing a video for that thing back in 2018 or something. It was cool. It was like a little drum machine box that you could jam along with. Great little practice tool for songwriting and stuff. It was cool. I made a video with it. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Steve Fryette could fix your GK. Really? I'm guessing you know. I don't. What is he going to be mad at me if I ask him? I would totally ask Steve to fix it if you think he's the one that I should take it to. I think it's going to need speakers, so I'm going to have to source some. I think Pyle made some little drivers that. Pile drivers. Those were the speakers that fit it. And there was a guy in New York City that works on them that I think has a stock of speakers. Somebody told me about, but I'd rather get it fixed locally, you know, if I could. And if Steve could fix it, I would totally be down with that. Yeah, yeah. Have you ever played a Strandberg? A little bit. They were a Prog NX with Suhr pickups. Love it. Does it have the kind of blocky neck on it? Because that freaked me out a little bit. But I know they use our pickups and stuff. They use Thornbuckers and stuff. They use, you know, and people say they like them. I don't know. I don't. It's a. I like guitars with headstocks, generally speaking, but I mean, they're cool. I mean, people obviously like them, and they've been converts. And I think I'm really caffeinated right now. It's hard for me to sort of form a consistent thought. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I would say like probably not for me, but I get it. I mean, it's neat, and it's like, you know, similar to like when Steinbergers, and it's just different, and it's like, it's a thing, and kids these days, they love them. So options are good, you know. Options are good. Okay, moving through the chat because I was so far back. I'm headed down. Who's in Japan there? Ohayo gozaimasu. Genki desu. Genki desu ka? 6 a.m. in Japan. Have a good night's sleep, everyone in America. Well, we're sort of up for the duration. It's only 2 to 3, 4 p.m. So what's that? Yoji Goro? East Coast? Yeah. And here we're almost to Niji Goro. Yeah. Imo wa Niji Goro desu. How's that? Pretty good, right? I'm getting there. Not quite, but almost Niji Goro. Yeah. Nihon wa ii desu ne. Pete players like Jason Beeler go with quad cortex when they want to retain their customary tube amp tone consistency, it seems. Does Jason use it? Does he like do captures and stuff? That's interesting. I didn't know that. Interesting. I like his music. To know something, do you play the same guitar or play several guitars with different characteristics? Do you mean like, do I in the I would say in the course of my career, I play a lot of different guitars. I would say I play several guitars with different characteristics. Used to be back in the day, I used to like kind of get comfortable with a spec and a certain guitar, and I wanted everything to feel the same. And now even across my signature model range, there's like some different things going on wood-wise and even neck spec and stuff. So I guess I'm in the category of, I kind of got to the point where I started to realize that guitars are kind of cool if you take each one individually. You know, the neck could be big on one and small on the other. And like, if you can kind of get into that and just appreciate them for what they are, it's cool. That's not for everybody. I mean, some people like their one guitar and they like it to feel a certain way and they like it to stay consistent, you know. Players that come to mind would probably be maybe Eddie Van Halen was kind of, later on sort of, because you'd see him mainly just with his guitar, or maybe Steve Vai, like with a certain spec, and their guitar, their guitar becomes that's their kind of weapon of choice, and they use it. Obviously, they can play other things, but you don't really see them do that much, so kind of interesting. So, Paul says, I always wonder how Nuno got to his level of speed and accuracy. He's Brazilian, and I think the water's different down there or something. The guitar players are like insane. There's a lot of really great. I mean, Mateus is Brazilian, right? Andre Neary's Brazilian, right? I think there's a different kind of, different thing going on. I think people grow up seriously with a level of like the level of music and facility there is, if you're going to do it, you go all in and you have a different level of like, you know what I mean? Like understanding of what it means to be good or something. There's a little bit, it seems to be like that to me. Musicians there, I remember going there and like seeing like a late night TV show, the host who was kind of like the whatever, like Jay Leno of the time or whatever, like he was the late night host for a long time on the main program, played instruments, and when the band would come back from break, he would be playing trumpet or something along with them and killing it. He was a little more like a Jules Holland almost, like he could, he was a really good musician, but he was the guy that would interview people and stuff, and the band was great. I remember seeing this TV show and it was explained to me. So if anybody's Brazilian out there, you might know who I'm talking about, but It just seemed like, you know, music is in the culture and it's a little more run through the culture and people are just really good. So maybe it's that. Your review of the Soldano SLO dual pedal was spot on. I've been using it for about a week and it's great. Once again, your informative reviews have been helpful. Thanks. That's what I hope to inform. I do. Okay. Let's see. It's about 1:49 that I've been doing this for now. So I'll hang another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to split and get some work done. Finish up this video for the Heat Seeker from Crazy Tube Circuits. Work on some songs, do some things. Start another video. The work never ends, folks. Until one day it does. Not to be morbid, but that's the truth for all of us, isn't it? Let's see. Edward never had a brass block. Just saying. All you nerds with your brass blocks. He might have. You never know. He experimented a lot. So if there was the way I found out about FU tone was through Matt Bruck. So I bet Ed did use brass blocks. He probably used FU tone blocks on some of his guitars. I don't know. I mean, Matt, maybe. I don't know. I have to ask Matt. That's literally how I got hooked up with FU tone, was through that almost direct to, you know, EVH connection. So I don't know. Anyone here know of a good tube amp repair person you would recommend in the San Francisco Bay Area? Good question. I don't know anybody up there, to be honest. I'm sure there's somebody great, but I just don't know. I don't know. Which acoustic guitar do you play? It just depends. These days, generally speaking, I've got a really nice Takamine that the headstock's just poking out there. You can kind of see it. Great guitar. I've got a Martin D28 that I love. I've got a Taylor that has been my main squeeze on tour for the last couple of years. It's a kind of a J45 style that's got an undersaddle pickup, and it's just a nice guitar, you know. So Taylor's, I used a Taylor 12 string on tour last year with classic rock show that I would play Wish You Were Here on. That sounded great. So I really like Taylor's. Terrific. Just got your Jam P50 capture for Quad Cortex. Sounds awesome. Cool. Enjoy. You guys basically have all my amps now. No, some of them anyway. I think I had a Morley Wah with a built-in dirt. I have no memory what happened to it. Yeah, I've got a lot of gear like that. Whatever happened to that thing? I've got a lot of T-shirts like that too. You see an old picture of yourself wearing it, and you're like, where did that end up? I haven't seen that for 5 years. Are you going to Winter NAMM? I will be there. If you're at NAMM, come see me. I'll be in the Suhr booth on Friday. So I'll be hanging around for much of the day. And I'm only there a day and a bit. I'll be there like Friday and then a bit of Saturday, and then I got to jet and go back to England. So I'm literally coming to NAMM for 36 hours. And then I'll be on tour, fly back over for the show, fly back right into a gig. Ooh, that's going to hurt. Do I think Marshall will come out with a new digital modeling amp? No. I don't know. But I don't think so. I think they got something else brewing. Yeah. Pete, when do you use your Boss? Like Boss effects? I used my Boss SRV, or sorry, not SRV, SDE 3000 EVH all the friggin' time. It's on my pedal board, and I always got a little bit of delay going, or sometimes a lot. I tell you what, I tried this. Holy shit. I tried this. It's a mess in here. Yesterday, again, I made a little video on this a while back. This thing is great. Like, talk about a great sounding boost and light overdrive that just blends with your amp that doesn't sound like a pedal. Just can't ask for more, really. That's honestly true. Try it. Look, it says right on it, made in Japan. What more could you possibly ask for? Fantastic sounding pedal. Really, really, really good. Oh, look at that. It's even got a buffer switch on the back that I never tried. Buffer, standard, and VTG. I don't know what that means. If that's like true bypass or something. or like an enhanced kind of buffer. Anyway, this pedal, great sounding, light drive boost preamp situation. Really nice. But I actually didn't put it on the board. And I'll tell you why, because I got that Unobtanium Raw pedal, and I put that on there, and that's a Klon and then a ampy drive. And I thought between those two and then my Unit 67, which is also a boost, I got enough. Plus a fuzz, Starlight fuzz. I've got on my board now again. Some of my favorites. I got enough grind on there. Okay. I love the Fort and Cali plugin. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's kind of Jose Mod metally stuff right there. What else are you guys talking about here? Where, when is the clinic? So my clinic this week is at Angel City Guitars, the 19th. I hope I don't have that wrong. But go to their website. It's on their Instagram as well. And it's 7 p.m. I believe it's free. I'm not sure if they're all full up or if maybe we need more people. Let's not jinx it. And if I get there and there's only 5 people there, I'm gonna be sad. So hopefully we got a good turnout this week. But it's not a really big store. That's the only thing. It's you know, kind of compact in there. So we'll see. If I had 25 or 30 people there, I'd be very happy. And that's this week coming up, 19th, I do believe. Angel City Guitars. Let's just double check that so that I know I've got the. I'm 99.9% sure that that's all correct. But we better be sure. We better be sure. Don't want to make a mistake. We better be sure. There's a lot at stake. That's not a very good rhyme. Yeah, so it's 4920 Topanga Canyon Boulevard. You got to register, though. Don't think you can just show. You got to register if you're going to go. Thursday, December 19th, 7 p.m. And I'm going to show all kinds of fun guitar tones. You know, crazy delays and how people used them. And lots of chorus at one point. And even using pitch effects to shift your guitar around the key and stuff. Crazy stuff. And all kinds of stuff. So it's going to be fun. Do I think I can run a line out from a Suhr reactive load to a Boss DC2W? What's a DC2W? Is that the... so you're wondering level-wise if that'll work? Is that like a dimension? Is that what that is? Yeah. You're just going to want to experiment with the, I know what you're trying to do. Cool idea. Probably sound great, but yeah, just keep that level low and experiment, and maybe just, you'll hear where you're going beyond where it's, if you're getting into some sort of clipping or something like that. So, I would say just be conservative, like level no more than a quarter of the way up. And, that should be minus 10 or something there, minus whatever, like line level. And you should be okay there. Should be able to handle. When they measure things like that, like Suhr and those guys that are smart, they measure things in volts. They'll say, oh, it'll handle 6 volts. Or it'll handle 9 volts. I don't really know what that means, like that measurement of how. But anyways. Just be conservative, but it should work. And you're in Poland. Have fun over there. I haven't been there for a long time. Jazz Dragon says, have you ever played an Earl Slick guitar? No. Or like any of Earl's personal guitars? I have not. No. Some old Motley Crue releases, the songs were listed wrong. They probably just resequenced the album or something and didn't have time to reprint jackets back in the day, because that would be expensive, obviously. Just got the Van Halen Live Dallas free show from 91 on vinyl. Live in the Dallas area and remember when the band was here for this. I know the show you're talking about. I've seen video of it. Is that an EVH Music Man hanging up on the wall? Yeah, I did a whole video about that guitar. There's a video you can see. Just search. It's like when Eddie switched from Kramer to Music Man, I called it. And then it's about that guitar, that era, and that particular guitar right there. Yeah. I angered Larry DiMarzio by making that video. True story. he wasn't happy with me. Had a bit of a point here and there. But he did say that I said some things wrong, and I went back and I looked at some of his complaints about things I said, like about the pickups, and I was like, no, that's basically what I said exactly in the video. Was, and I did feel like it was a little odd because it was a little like, well, anyway, I don't need to air my dirty laundry here, but I didn't understand. I felt like I was very complimentary towards DiMarzio, to be honest, in the video. And I felt like I was basically giving free publicity to the pickups like the Tone Zone and the Aaron Norton. For a guy that's got his own pickups, Thornbuckers, I felt like I was going, hey, these pickups are still available and you can get them. They're very close to what's in the guitar, evidently. And that's what people say. So just knowledge. He wasn't happy with me. What did I do wrong? I don't know. So that happened. Just a little bit of dirty laundry there, but whatever. Whatever. Killer Sunday show, says Peter Evans. Thanks, man. Videos this week. So video this week coming for this guy, the Heat Seeker from Crazy Tube Circuits. Probably have a video out for the JEL 50 amp too, where I'm going to compare it to my 4-hole Marshall as well as a JCM 800. And we'll see how close we can get tonally. And I should split. And this was great. We had about 320 people online most of the time. It was fantastic. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Peter, for the super chat and for being here. Appreciate you guys. Starlight, says Chris. Yes, Starlight Fuzz from Crazy Tube Circuits. One of my favorite fuzzes of all time. Works with buffers. Very, very versatile. Overdrive at low levels. Morphs into a distortion and then becomes full-on fuzz as you turn that gain up. And sounds just beautiful. You can play Pink Floyd with it. You know, if you needed to do a muffy thing. It won't really do the fuzz face thing. I wouldn't use it for that, but it'll do anything muffy, anything kind of like alternative rock 90s. It's great, you know. Or if you just want a great big alternative, like big note solo sound to a high gain amp, it's great for that too, into a clean amp. Yeah. Anybody else here? I gotta go soon. Not gonna lie, says Todd. Bothered me when EVH switched from Kramer. I mean, I dug the new guitar. I thought it was cool. I was as surprised as anybody to see that it was a flame top that looked kind of telly-ish, you know, and with a neck pickup. But you know, yeah. Let's see. You know, things grow on you, you know, over time, and it definitely grew on me. So. Tom says I have one pedal that can't handle 18 volt. If you're talking about what I was just talking about, like 9, I'm talking about more like the audio going into the input of a pedal. They measure in like the headroom and voltage. I don't understand that, but like Kevin Suhr will say, oh, it'll take at least 9 volts on the input. He's not talking about the power. He's talking about the amount of signal going into the pedal. I don't really understand why wow, it's beyond me, but he's an engineer. So he's got a degree. I am a idiot with a high school education. Yeah. I have the JLL 50 matching cab. It's amazing, says Johnny. I'm going to investigate in the next 24 hours here. What else? Thoughts on the Nobles ODR1? Kind of neat, not really my thing. I know what it, kind of that, you know, is it dirty, is it clean? It kind of does a grindy, the opposite of a tube screamer thing. They're generally kind of bassy. I did use a Wampler version for a while, but it had a bass control. So that was a nice addition because you can, on the Wampler one, it's called the Bell. You can dial the bass back. Kind of nice. Just gets it a little more, because there's a lot of low end in the pedal I found, which I guess if you're using, you know, a telly or something, maybe it's a good thing with single coils, you know? Yeah. Ray says Beeler and Soto both would put you on guest list for Saigon Kick Show in Hollywood in February. Want me to reach out? You know, I really appreciate that. The only thing is I'm going to be in England on tour, so I don't get back till early March. But I appreciate that. Thank you. I'd love to meet him one of these days. We had a little like DM back and forth. And, you know, I mentioned that I really liked his new music. And I didn't really listen to Saigon Kick back in the day. So maybe I should go back and listen. Somebody was mentioning that they even appreciate it more now than ever in the chat. And maybe I should go put a little bit more into that, because I really like the new stuff. I thought it was very creative and progressive and just good songs, you know, good songs. So I should go put a little more effort. Steven says, why not put a kill switch in your signature? That's Eddie's thing. Plus, you know, you can always pick up a Les Paul and just turn down the neck pickup and do it the Randy Rhoads way, or the Eddie Van Halen way on the Destroyer. All right. I am at the very end of the chat. We're going to end with Mark saying, wrong. Wait, that's not positive. Let's end with this. Saigon Kick, cool band. You guys be nice to one another. Have an awesome week. Thanks for your super chats. Thanks for being supportive. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your great questions. Next week will be the last one before it's Christmas time in heaven and all the angels are here. And so we'll have fun and hang out, talk about guitars and stuff more, talk about what everybody wants for Christmas. And everything is Eddie's thing, isn't it? Isn't it? He's responsible for everything except Rush Hour 2. Yeah, baby. Okay, guys, have a terrific week and be nice to one another. I'm going to go try and calm down from all this caffeine. Rock on. See ya.